on Health and Wellness with LaJune. Have the amazing Herb Plum founder, CEO Natasha Hall. Thank you for joining me for this necessary discussion. And so many people who suffer from suicidal ideation, suicidal attempts, also people who actually taken their lives. It's Mental Health Awareness Month. I think mental health is a everyday topic. Suicide awareness should be a everyday topic because it's so necessary and it's so real. Um, and, kind of seeing how we both transitioned in our lives from that experience of where we were to where we are today. So, if you can kind of talk about your experience with suicide.
Yeah. So, hi, everybody. I'm so glad to be here. Obviously, this is one of those topics that I feel like we don't talk about enough. My family actually suffers from depression. And so I didn't know that growing up. But my experience was really, I think, compounded, where I had these internal conversations with myself of, am I good enough? And as I continue to, you know, as we all do, we're in school, you're not doing as well as you would like, then you try to, then I'm in college, and then it gets to a place where, I got fired as a RA because of the color of my skin. It was, and then I got into I was in a domestic violence relationship, and so I think it was compounded for a long time, and I didn't really know how to use my voice. And it actually happened when I was not only studying for my CPA exam, but I was working at a job that required many, many hours. Sometimes, like, I didn't sleep for like days, just because I was like, I have so much to do and I want to get it all done. And I was basically a working depressant, if that makes sense, right? And one day I was just like, I'm just unsatisfied with my life. I'm unsatisfied with where I am. I'm unsatisfied with, I don't feel like I'm going anywhere. I don't feel like I'm doing anything. There was nothing in me that said I should be here. And it's strange because, I obviously had a job, right? I was excelling at work, but internally I didn't feel like I belonged. I didn't feel like I was satisfied. I felt like I should not be here. And so it truly led me to putting a knife to my wrist. And luckily, and I keep saying this, luckily, so I turned and looked, and a mirror was actually to my right hand side, and I turned and I actually saw myself putting a knife to my hand, and I literally dropped the knife. Um, and at that point, I was like, wait a second, am I about to kill myself? Is that what I'm about to do? And I think that's when I started to realize that I needed more help. I needed more community. I needed to share this with someone so that they can kind of help me go through my thoughts. And then once I did that, I started to kind of just tap into the things that I needed more, communicated with the people that I needed to communicate with more, and really kind of hone in on the things that I needed, as opposed to kind of going down this road of depression. And don't get me wrong, I'm human, right? So there are days where I'm like, I go into a depressive state, and I have the tools to catch myself and say, whoa, whoa. we don't want to go there again. So let's do this. Let's take a break. Let's ask the questions. And luckily, like yoga has been instrumental in me kind of understanding my thoughts and understanding what I'm going through so that I can make the shifts I need to kind of come out of that depressive state. But when you do have a family that has depression, I think it's we need to talk about it. Yeah.
100%. Like mine was financial based three times. The first time was 2001. Um, I lost my job. My car was in a process of being repossessed, and I'm like rent, like it was served eviction notice if I didn't pay, and it was I was driving to my friend's house, and I was like I don't, and I was still dealing from the grief of losing my dad. I was still dealing with what was coming up for me was the sexual assault as a kid. All this stuff was coming up. It was coming up on top of depression. And I'm driving, and I let go of the steering wheel, and I was just like, I'm ready to end it all. Natasha, now you know when you driving, the car be everywhere, you let go of the steering wheel.
Correct.
This car goes straight. Yolanda Adams comes on the radio. And I just started crying, and I was just like, God, I don't know what you want me to do. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. What I do know is I'm tired of all of this.
Yeah.
I'm tired of being in this situation. I was going over to my friend's house, and I get there, and she's like, "Are you okay?" She was like, "You seem off. Are you okay?" And I'm like, "No." I said, I let go of the steering wheel. I was ready to kill myself, but the car kept going straight.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Girl, you don't have to worry. I got you." I had two homeboys. They always made sure, food, because at that time, that's another podcast. I was also anorexic because I wasn't really eating. I was okay without eating. I would just sleep, and how I would get I was a size zero. How I would get my calories, I would drink soda, which fills you up.
Yeah.
So the third time was supposed to be the happiest moment. The second time was supposed to be the happiest moment of my life. Me and my ex, we were together. I'm getting ready to get my master's. And I'm like, man, all these job opportunities about to come along. We're arguing about money, and again, it's money. And I'm driving, and again, all this stuff was coming up from my past because I hadn't dealt with it.
Right.
I'm driving again, and I'm just like, I'm tired of this. I don't want to continue to do this. I don't want to be here anymore. So again, I'm driving. This time was different. What came up for me was my mother. Her
Mm.
face came up of your mother would be devastated to know that you killed yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I just started crying because I was like, I don't know what to do. So I tried to find a therapist, which was the therapist at that time. She said in the session, I think she was projecting onto me because she was like, "You hate your mother." And I was like, I didn't say that. I was like, I don't hate her. I was like, I don't at times, like some of the things that she does. But
Mhm.
no, you hate her. I was like, okay, you ain't the therapist for me because clearly
Yeah.
this is your issue.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, okay. I went to Bali and, just started figuring out a lot of stuff about me that I didn't know. But that one piece I hadn't dealt with was my money trauma.
Hmm.
Last year, things were not getting better. 2023, my lease wasn't renewed. Because I didn't have the money. Like my business, like I said with business, if you don't understand business and how business works, one moment you can be up here, the next minute you can be down here.
That part.
So business started fizzling. Of course, the economy changed. People trying to save money. Totally get it. I'm like that as well.
Right.
And I then moved in with a then friend, and in January 2024, my car gets repossessed.
Yeah.
And where she lives is a suburban area where it's not really it's no buses out there. I'm stuck inside with my thoughts.
Mm.
I'm angry. All I'm doing is sleeping, and I'm not even eating, I'm just sleeping. And I'm having therapy sessions. And I'm like so angry with God. I'm like, God, why am I here? Why are you taking everything from me? I have nothing. You took my dad from me as a child. You taking this, you keep taking. What is it that you want from me?
Mm.
And I'm just so angry at this point. And I'm shutting down and I'm like so depressed. And one of my clients paid me. So I was like, instead of paying my then friend, I'm going to pay to rent a car.
Hmm.
So I paid, started driving Uber from again, sun up, sundown, sun up, sundown. I was not sleeping. I'm just a functional depressive person. Just let me get this money. As soon as I'm getting the money, it's slipping out of my fingers.
Yeah.
2025 was the height of it. I'm just like back to back car accidents. And I was just like, okay, what is going on?
Mm.
So I'm getting all this medication because I'm in car accidents. I was literally like, God, we done. I'm done. Um, I'm like, where do you sign up for Little or Naughty? Where that program at? Because I can't keep doing this. I don't want to keep living this life of just getting by and just surviving. I stayed um 20 from Labor Day at her house until March. And I'm staying in different hotels. So that's the perfect opportunity because I don't have to, worry about friends and them finding me. These are strangers. And and I guess like Tamika and other people started noticing I was so numb. I had no life in my eyes. Just how I was talking was so reckless. And I just was like, fuck it. I don't want to be here. I don't care. And my therapist asked me one day, she said, how would you kill yourself? I said, I got a whole bunch of pills, or I can just walk in the middle of traffic. Either or, whichever happens, happens. And people are texting me saying, "Hey, I'm praying for you. If you do it, don't tell me that you're doing it because I don't care. Because this is the space that I'm in. I don't care. This is how depressed I was." And I'm like, I don't care. I don't care if you pray. I don't care if you don't. I don't care what you do. So it just kept getting worse and worse. And then I had to go to Louisiana. My mom was in the hospital. Of course, you got to put on your little smiley face. Everything is great. Got to show up for everybody else, but I'm not showing up for me in this moment because of my mental space. I go there and I'm texting my cousin at the time. This is before she passed because this is like the end of March. We texting and come back, same place, because she knew everything that was going on. I'm going to the hospital because we talked about stress. I'm going in and out the hospital because I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't feel that great. And then find out on Mother's Day last year that she passed. So I'm like, damn, God, again? The two people that have shown up for me all my life, that have truly loved me, that I felt love, that has always shown up for me, you've taken from me. So why do I still need to be here?
Yeah.
And she came to me one Saturday, and it's like clockwork because it was her, and it is this amazing lady that is an amazing second mom to me. She's always praying for me. She's always sending me prayers. She sends me a voice prayer, which is rare. She typically sends me type up prayers, or she'll send me like gifts with prayers. But this day she sends me a voice prayer. And then my cousin comes to me and she's sitting on the bed and she's like, I was fighting to be here.
Mm.
You still have a chance to turn this around. God has placed you here for a reason, to be the voice for so many people who don't have a voice.
Yeah.
They need to hear your testimony to help them. I was just like, you're right. I started crying. I sent, Mama Elaine a text message and I said, thank you for the prayer. I needed that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that I wasn't in therapy. I was already in therapy. I was seeing my therapist 2 or 3 times a week. But the key component, like I've mentioned in several of the panels, my therapist doesn't work in the area of money.
Mm-hmm.
She works in the area of mental health. So I was like, I need help because this is the root that has tried to take my life 3 times. I need to heal from this. And I had sent a email to another company who referred me to my money therapist, and she helped me understand so much about, because like I mentioned before, I didn't know money was a relationship.
Yeah.
I thought money was, oh, because I was always given money in an inappropriate way.
Mm.
Even guys that were trying to date me, they would give me money. So I didn't have a great relationship. Once I started real, I'm like, oh, so we had a session 2 weeks ago, and she said to me, "Do you think money?" And I was like, think money? What do you mean you think money? I thank God for giving me the money. And she's like, okay. She said, well, how about you thank God and money? Because money is a relationship. So it's just like your friend. You need money. You need money to pay bills. You need money for what you want and what you need.
Right.
So you have to start looking at it more than it's a transactional type thing of, okay, I was always given money in a non-healthy way, in a non-positive way.
Yeah.
So it was, for me, it was just, and you hear people all the time that have committed suicide because they hit rock bottom and they lost everything.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I think sometimes like we don't even think about um, the thing that can tip someone over, right? And it can be anything, right? It can be the internal conversations that you're having. It could be the fact that you're dealing with money. It could be the same situation happening multiple times, and you're like, what is happening? Am I supposed to be here? And so it's just every person is different. Every person has a different thought process, and I think the more we again share that our experiences, but also there's no like one thing that can tip you over to start thinking that you don't want to be here, right? And I would say one of the things that's super important is to voice your feelings, voice your um, like your thought process with someone that you can trust, right? I think that for me has been the game changer in how I now support myself mentally, from an emotional standpoint, mental health. It's really about having a safe space with the people in your life to really say, hey, like this really took me down, right? And whatever that may be. And obviously, each person is different, but it's like I want to be able to say, hey, you know what? Today I got exhausted by the amount of work that I need to do. And I didn't even realize, like, I just don't want to do this work. Like, I just don't want to do it. And sometimes too much work has you thinking, oh, these are all the things I have to do, and then you kind of get into this place of I don't want to do nothing. I want to be a couch potato. I just want to binge watch TV, and that is also a form of depression, right? I think sometimes people think, well, depression is only looks one way, right? But it's not. It's sometimes you're just like, I just want to lay around. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to talk to anyone. And all of those are forms of depression. Or maybe you get overly angry about something and you don't even know why you get angry about it. Also a form of depression, right? And so when you do have people that you can have real in-depth, honest, non-judgmental conversations with, it just makes all of that so much easier because now you can process your thoughts, right? And when you say things out loud, I think sometimes people forget that, you're also hearing yourself. Oh, wait, what did I just say?
Right.
Right? And when you're saying it to another person, now they have the ability to also ask you the question, are you okay? And why is that making you feel the way that it's making you feel? And if it's related to something else, right, then now you're kind of getting to the granular level of the things that are making you feel like you do want to commit suicide, right? I think sometimes it's not even the thing that's happening right now, right? It's sometimes something that happened 20 years ago that you haven't even fully healed from or talked about. And then you show up in the world today as I'm fine, but you're not really fine
Right.
because you can't really overcome. You can't get to a place where you can have tough conversations, or you don't really want to face something that you've dealt with in the past. I don't want to face it anymore, right? Um, and so all of these, like I would say, things that we experience, we do need to, hone in on what the real reason is. And, to be honest, it could be, sometimes, you may, I'm just thinking of like, I think I've shared on your podcast before, it's when I first got my period, right? And I was having like reproductive health challenges and my sister wasn't. And there was like the internal conversations of me comparing my experience to hers, and me saying, what's wrong with me? Right. Sometimes we compare our experiences with someone else, not realizing that you're putting yourself down, and that's maybe causing you to go into a depressive state. Comparison, right? Oh, this person is better than me, and so I'm not good enough, right? Or that person has that, and so maybe I'm not, I'm not worthy enough. And I think we need to kind of take a step back and say, I shouldn't be comparing myself to someone else. I am unique, right? I'm the only person on this planet that has my makeup as the person that I am, my own character, the way I go about life. I am me, and I'm not like anyone else. And once we have that, once we get to a place where we feel that, then the kind of depressive states wouldn't. I'm gonna say, just for me, from my experience, it hasn't come back, because now I have the tools. I know when to, what I know how to notice it, and what to do to put in place so that that doesn't happen again. I pause, right? I have honest conversations with the core. I would say my mindset group, right? I have a mindset group who I can be completely honest with. And when I say completely honest, let me tell you something. I mean, I, I mean, completely honest, right? And one thing I make sure to do is never lie to myself first, right? Because I want to make sure, okay, this is how I'm feeling, and maybe I felt this way because I'm in a place where I want something that I don't have yet, right? Mother's Day just passed. I'm not like a mom, and so that day really hit me hard, right? And but for me to notice it, right, and not say let's go into a depressive state. I noticed it, but guess what? I'm fine. I'm healthy. Um, I'm also in my nephews and my godchildren's lives, and I love them dearly, right? I have to look at other ways that I'm contributing to the world in a positive way, right? The only way to be a mom is not only to have like a child. It's really, how can you be a positive, a resource in someone else's life, right? Even through her plum, it's really me, supporting other women, to better health, right? That's also, I don't want to say a mom, but just really a nurturing, way of helping people to get healthier, right? So sometimes I think we forget that we're all on this planet with different experiences and with a different thought process, and we've had different, lives growing up, and what makes us like tick, and then what makes us kind of go into this depressive state. So it's just like, now it's acknowledging, hey, I'm having this experience, and with my friends I can say, hey, this day was actually really hard, and these are the reasons why it was hard. And so thank you for texting or calling. That was super, super kind of you, right? Um, I think, again, these hard conversations, sometimes people don't want to share that, I'm having a hard day because it's Mother's Day, right? And you may think that it's, um, you're not saying it because you don't really care, but you're once you have the thought, then your body feels it, and then how you show up in the world the next day, the next year, shows that you're dealing with something internally. And so, oh, you might be a bit snappy to somebody else, and on Mother's Day every year going forward and not even realize it. So for me, it's really having the honest conversations with myself, right? That's first. Having honest conversations with my mindset group, taking the pauses that I need, and that's through breathing and meditation. That's taking walks outside. I'm a tree hugger. Let me tell you something. Like, if anybody sees me, like you see me hugging a tree, please leave me alone because
You like, we having our time here. Okay, we're connecting
I'm
with
like,
nature.
listen, I'm feeling the tree, and trying to build up my energy level. Also trying to again meditate and pray just to make sure that hey, I still have something to give to the world. I'm still here, right? I'm still alive, and so sometimes being in nature, around water, around in a park, you sitting on the soil, it gives you just a different energy, um in hey, I'm okay, right? I'm okay. Let me take a few breaths, and not that will help everyone, but sometimes being in nature gives you a boost, right? So I would say if you are struggling, sometimes take a walk, kind of get away from your current environment, just for a moment, because I think it definitely helps.
You said, and you reminded me because literally before I didn't get the car until April, and January to April I had no car in 2024.
Hmm.
So I'm stuck in the house, and it started warming up a little, and I'm bundled, and I go take a walk, and I find a pond. And I love turtles. I love water. I love turtles. My dad, when he was alive, he would take us fishing or take us to the lake, or water was his thing, and it's also mine. And it did so much for me, just seeing that water, connecting with God, connecting with nature, seeing the turtles, seeing the baby turtles. They're all lined up like the mama and all the way down.
Right.
And I'm doing videos, taking pictures, and I managed to find a way to get myself out of that moment instead of being stuck there. It wasn't perfect. It didn't look any different, but I took myself out. Movement for me, like yoga is for you, movement to me is very essential.
Yeah.
My therapist will ask me all the time, well, what can you do in this moment? Move. I have to move. I have to, and yoga is a little too slow for me because it'll make me think too much. And when I'm in that space, I don't want to think.
Hmm.
So boxing, spin. So I got an inflatable punching bag, and I would just punch on that. That helped tremendously. And again, walking in nature. You also mentioned about having conversations and telling people how you're feeling and what's going on.
Hmm.
The thing for me, I didn't want to because I didn't want to be a burden to anybody.
Yeah.
I didn't want anyone to feel like they're stressing and worrying about me. I didn't want to be a burden. So I kept it in.
Yeah.
And the only person I really had conversations with was my therapist.
Mhm.
And what Tamika, I think Tamika is probably the one that really knew how in depth it was for me, how of a dark place I was in.
Yeah.
And I 100% appreciate her because she didn't receive it. Because you know how some people, you'll tell them something and they like, oh my God, what?
Right.
This again?
Right.
Like,
Right.
but she was never that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, as you mentioned, you have to know who your audience is.
Yep.
You have to know who you can have these conversations with. Because if you have that conversation with the wrong person, it can lead you definitely to killing yourself.
1,000%.
You have to know who your audience is and know 100% you're not being a burden to them. And it's still a work in progress for me to take myself out of you're not a burden.
Mm-hmm.
You're here for a reason. And to recognize, I recognized when I was having those dark days, and I appreciate, and I always say it's 100% God, because for my therapist to have those availabilities where I would send her a message and say, hey, do you have any availability today? And she'd be like, yeah, I got this time. Does that work? 100%. And she was seeing what I was going through. We had a session yesterday because I simply see her on Tuesday. So I didn't see her on Tuesday. And I was like, you know what? I don't like this. I don't like this. I'm like, it's been too long. And she was like, we just had a session last week. I said that was on Tuesday. It's been a week and 2 days. I'm like, I don't like this, ma'am. I don't like this. I need you to figure something out. I don't like this. And then I thought about it. I said, well, honestly, I could have sent you a message to see if you had availability, but then I wasn't available. So I was like, it's fine. I was like, it's fine. It's fine. But I appreciate her for and I appreciate God for her for having those availabilities and those openings, and definitely needed those. But you definitely have to know who you can have those conversations with. Um, I know for me, and I always say, because my cousin's best friend's like, when she passed, she was like, I wish, she would have told you or told some other family. And I said, I know why she didn't tell me, because she knew I was already going through something and she didn't want to add on to what I was going through. And she was like, oh, and we're the same sign. Her birthday is the day after mine. So I was like, I know how we think. So it was that process, and it was literally okay. So, and I definitely know now things I need to work on. Like through my session yesterday, my therapist and I were talking, and we're talking about money. And she's like, I see your growth because you were having internal conversations, but with those conversations, you were weighing the pros and cons of, okay, if I decide to work 7 days a week, oh, I remembered when I worked 7 days a week last year, what happened to my body, how it put stress on my body, and I'm still in the healing process. And she started saying those things, and I was like, well, damn, you know me real well now. So, those things, I think you have to, like you said, you have to be aware of what's coming up for you. What's triggering this response? Is it because it's the 15th? Okay, what happened last year on the 15th or 20 years ago on the 15th or whatever? What happened on that day that you feel today you're spiraling? What happened on for Mother's Day? For me, I lost my cousin on Mother's Day, and the 11th is, her anniversary of when she passed. But will Mother's Day be the same for me when it comes? No, because I lost somebody who was near and dear to my heart. That was my sister. So I think those are the things you have to be mindful of, especially with money. Find a money therapist. Um, Things that your therapist may can actually help with, because my money therapist takes money. So I can't always pay for her services. But having those conversations in areas that my therapist do try to assist me with, because she knows, okay, well, that's an extra fee, so I can help you figure out the best I can to assist you. But having those conversations moving, and like you said, for years, all I did, even as a kid, I was always sick because I was depressed as a kid from being sexually assaulted and losing my dad. And I slept a lot. If I didn't play outside playing and moving, I slept a lot. That's all I did was sleep. And I didn't realize it until much older that that was my getaway, was sleeping, until one time after I was sexually assaulted, I was dreaming about my cousin that molested me and the person who sexually assaulted me, and I was on muscle relaxers and pain pills, and I couldn't wake up. And I was like, oh, I don't think I like the sleep thing right now. So I would definitely say find the right people to talk to. Your energy 100% will say, just even if you just attempt to start a conversation and how they're receptive to it, it says a lot. Because during that time in 2018, I did mention to somebody who shut me down, and I was like, I will never have this conversation with you again in regards to anything. So thank you.
Yeah, I do think your community of people that you feel safe with, you should be able to say the same story sometimes. And because I want to say, like, my community, they'll hear the same story over and over again. Um, and it's not because I want to continue to share, it's because I'm still processing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and sometimes you have to continuously say the same thing over and over again just to make sure, okay, how am I actually feeling? Um, and so they're okay with hearing the same thing over and over again, because I think we sometimes we kind of get ahead of ourselves in that you tell somebody one thing and then they should, that's it, right? Do the thing that I say and deal with it, right? But that's not a human experience, right? It's like if a child learned how to crawl, do you think that they learned how to crawl by you just by them not practicing and doing the same thing over and over again? No, they have to learn how to walk by crawling, and then maybe I drag myself, and then maybe I'll try the same thing again tomorrow, and maybe this didn't work. I pushed my left hand, but my right hand dropped. Okay, and so you take that same principle and apply it to adult conversations, um, with people that you feel safe with, then you'll get to the solution. You'll get to the walking point, right? You'll get to the place where you're like, okay, I don't need to bring this up again in a way where I still need help with it. It'll be more of a reflective, oh, okay, I understand why I did that, or why I said that, or why I needed to have these conversations over and over again, because I was still processing. we do have to give ourselves like a bit of patience, right, and grace with the world going a mile a minute, and the all the social media platforms with the instant gratifications. It's really, we're humans, right? We're not technology. We have to give ourselves space to learn, to process, and that takes a safe community to help you do that. People that don't judge you, um, but also people that are not trying to control your experience, right? I think sometimes when you're thinking of, okay, I want to help that person, and so I'm going to help them, and it needs to go this exact way, and it can't veer off from the exact way that I tell them to heal. And it's like, no, no. Again, no. You
It's kind of like the saying of you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make the horse drink the water.
correct. 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 It's like you have to allow people to find their own way. Um, and so sure, are there friends that I, even in my mindset group, that, Tasha, I'm gonna do this. Okay, no problem. I love you dearly. Just want to make sure, just be safe. And if you need anything, I'm here. And so, sure, have they learned and then decided, ooh, I learned that and I don't want to do that anymore. So let me unlearn this. Okay, I'm here to support. I'm not here to control your experience. I'm not here to um, tell you you're wrong and judge you for what you do. We're all humans. And I think once we kind of take the control out of the picture, then people would feel safe in having the kind of vulnerable conversations that they're thinking, and people who are experiencing these kind of suicidal thoughts and depression, when they do have a community that doesn't judge them for what they say, or the experience that they're having, then you'll help them process what they're actually going through, to help them through a moment, right? And it could be a moment, it could be like over a long period of time. Obviously, it depends on the person, but you have to give people the space to process. And that's for people that's going through depression, and who's not, right? Someone who's just living their life on a daily basis. We have to remember that we are human and we are different. We are completely different from someone else. We might have the same interests or the same thought process or the same, this is where I want to get to, but how you get there is different for each person. So my community, we are truly a community of, sure, I mean, do it. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it like, if they're doing something completely bad, but then I'm, hello. My friends call me, um, my friends call me like Mama Tosh when I get to a place where you guys are doing craziness, right? And it's not that I'm trying to control or anything like that. I'm just like, I just want the best for you, right? But it doesn't mean you have to listen to me at all, right? And so when you are ready to talk more about it, share, right? And if you don't feel like you don't want to talk to me about it, that's okay too. But I make sure to support my friends, and they support me in a it's like such a deep relationship that I have with my group of people, because we're all, it's kind of like reciprocated positive energy, right? So we talk consistently, we continue to motivate each other, and that keeps me in a place where I feel like good internally, right? Because I know that I'm continuing to follow my dreams. I'm continuing to, put positive vibes into the world, and that keeps me from getting to a place of depression, right? And so the more and more you feel comfortable with having honest conversation, the more you'll kind of be in a place mentally you'll be in a happier place mentally. And I think it's hard initially to start having those conversations, those honest conversations. Um, but I do feel like if someone does have, let's try one person, right? And maybe it's the person that you're hanging out with the most. And then if you do share, and the person is like, "Oh no, I don't," then you know that that is not your community, okay? And that you need to ease your way back from that from that community and really say, "Hey, let me kind of isolate." Isolation was also one of the things that I used to heal, to be able to figure out what am I thinking, why am I thinking it. Journaling also helped me to, again, put my kind of thoughts and experiences together. This is what happened. Oh, this is why I'm thinking this. Oh, this is my feeling that I'm getting from it. And I think sometimes I think people forget that just because you have a feeling today. So, for example, I might be sad today. It doesn't mean that you are a sad person, right? I'm experiencing a sad emotion based on an experience that I had, right? And so for me, I tried to go down to the experience that I had that made me feel sad instead of um, right, the me right now that I'm sad, right? And now my whole life is sad, right? So that also kind of gets you to that depressive state where you're like generalizing that one experience that made you sad. So I try to stay away from that as well and just say, oh, this is let me let me get back on track. Let me just make sure I understand this is the thing that made me sad. And so let me just deal with this. Staying focused on the one or two things that you're experiencing and not generalizing it as the person that you are. That also helped me to not fall into depression, because when you fall into that thing, let me tell you, it's like I don't even know how to get out. It's like everything is black, and I don't know what to do. So I get it. I get it. It feels like there's no way out, but and I completely understand because I've been there, but it's like little steps to help you to not fall in, or catch yourself right before you fall in. It's really using all the tools, right? Isolation, understanding your thoughts, journaling, tapping into your community, the people that actually listen to you and not judge you. It's really reaching out to a therapist, depending on the thing that you're experiencing. As you were saying, LaJune, you have a financial therapist and a regular therapist. So it's like we really have to tap into the resources that are helping us thrive. And there are resources, right? Listening to conversations like this will help. Tapping into communities of women will help, right? It's really just making sure that people are voicing what they're experiencing so that you know what to do next.
And I would definitely say for me, I'm the opposite. I am not if I isolate, it sucks me in more. So just kind of know what works for you, because for me, that doesn't work, because then I don't want to socialize with people. I don't want to talk to people because now I'm in a depressed state that now I'm shutting down. So just be mindful of what works for you. Again, like she mentioned, yoga works for her. And for me, I'm more high speed. I love doing things to keep my heart rate and going, going, going. Because that's always been how I was growing up. That worked for me. Can't do too much running now with my ankle, but that was my thing, running. And it was just extremely freeing for me. But in being, oh, don't, the thing that we as women do, we'll say, I'm okay. But the question is, are you really okay? Or it'll be, well, I will be, but what tools are you taking to ensure you will be okay? Because okay is not an overnight thing, it's a work in progress. So, what are you doing? Are you talking to a therapist, a coach? Are you journaling? Like, what's are you? And God is great, but God has also placed people to help us through the process because when we sick, oh, I'm not going to go to the doctor. God put doctors here for a reason. You going to go to that doctor if you physically have something going on. So, same thing with your mental and emotional health. Go see a person that specializes in that area. Same thing with your spiritual health. You gonna go to your pastor. You gonna go to God. There's entities for everything and everybody that works for you. And just be mindful because what was she, Miss USA or Miss America, who jumped off the building and killed herself?
Mm,
She was functionally depressed. We got Robin Williams, who was another one. It was this chef, and I was surprised to hear she killed herself because I used to watch her on the Food Network who killed herself. It was another guy that was a chef that killed himself as well.
yeah.
And it's the thing of you show up for the world and you put that smile on your face because I would have so many people that would say to me, "You don't look like what you're going through,"
Hmm.
because I don't want you to know what I'm going through. So I'm going to put this on and you're going to think whatever I want you to believe and think. But internally, I'm suffering extremely bad and it's so deep that you have no idea what's going on.
Hmm.
So be mindful because I had a client that said, "Yeah, nobody would know I have a mask on." And I was like, I knew it as soon as you started talking, but no. She was like, "Are you serious? And do you know that she ended her session? That was the first and last session I had with her. And she came back 3 months later because I saw her and she didn't want me to see her."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, when you are in that kind of depressive state, you do mask, right? And so it's something you have to take the veil off, and show who you are on like who you are authentically so that people can help, right? When you are masking yourself, you're masking your emotions, you're masking what you're experiencing, then you can't get the help that you actually need, you know? So it's really saying, hey, I want to heal. It's really say I want to heal, and then using the approach that feels best for you to heal, right? So if you do feel like you want to be more active, which moving your body is the first form of just kind of getting the your energy up, right? The endorphins flowing. Um, but sometimes your thoughts are uh, still going. And so try not to mask what you're experiencing with movement, but using movement as a way to open yourself up to finding the resources so that you can get better, right? The kind of movement will get you off the couch. I'll tell you that much, right? So, yeah. So you use the resources. There are so many, right? LaJune is definitely one of them. So tap into her, and she'll be able to guide you with the support that you need. And if she's unable to provide you, then she will definitely recommend you to someone
Oh,
else.
yeah. Definitely recommend. And also, please be honest with therapists and coaches. I've had people that say, or know someone who went to therapy or had a coach and was like, Oh, well, I can't have them in my business. Why are you wasting your money going?
Correct.
Or, oh no, then they'll judge me. No, we're here to help you. I'm not trying to judge anybody. They're not trying to judge anybody. We're only here to help you become a better version of yourself.
Right.
And trust me, your life will change tremendously. Because I can see my growth from working with my therapist for 3 years now. And just like, dang, I've grown a lot. So trust me, even if it's little things, it's a work in progress. But please be honest with, first, you got to be honest with you,
That part.
and then you're able to be honest with the people who are here to help you and to serve you. Because if you're not honest with you and you're not honest with them, it's a waste of time, and your life gonna keep being the way it is. And unfortunately, I hope nobody, and change is inevitable. Change is gonna happen. Change is already happening with AI and so much in the world. Either you gonna catch up or you're gonna be left the fuck behind. So it is what it is.
Yeah, yeah. And with all the AI stuff, it's like we're all looking for real connection, right?
Yeah.
Real conversation, a real human experience. And so now is really the time to tap into the communities that can support you in an intentional way. Because with again, everything going a mile a minute, this, instant gratification, that it's like, stop and stop, right? Put the phone down and
Yes.
actually figure out what you need and give yourself the space to heal, right? You have to give yourself the space to heal.
Yeah, but now they make a everything with AI. It looks so real, and then if you really look at it, you realize, okay, that's not real.
Right.
So please, and even social media, people be faking for the gram and for TikTok. They be faking. They be at the car dealership making you think it's their car, and they sitting next to it, or they sitting in it doing the whole video, and they get out, and it's just like, and you hear about the real housewives and all those people, their lives aren't real. Those, most of those houses are rented, unless you Candy Bears and you know she got money. But most of that is fake. So please be mindful. Don't try to live somebody else's life. Live your life. And if you're not happy with your life, work with somebody that can help you make your life what you want your life to be.
Yeah. Yeah. 1,000%.
Cause we got her Plum here. She designed a whole product.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, right? It's like, even after experiencing depression and suicidal thoughts, and being able to overcome, right? You're still able to find your way. I'm able to find my way in bringing something positive to the world, right? Helping women with their mental health. And so for me, both are super important. Both your mental health, your reproductive health, and your mental health. They're not two separate things. And sure, there are mental health therapists and period coaches, sure, but I want to be able to make sure that people know that even when you're menstruating, you are having these internal conversations with yourself on a daily basis. And some of those, you have the good voice and then that bad voice, right? Don't get up in the morning. We don't need to do this. It's like, hello.
Like you got bills to pay. You might want to get up and go to that job.
You got things to do, but it's really, you can go through a bad experience and then still bring something positive into the world. So don't discount yourself. Don't compare your experience with someone else's. You are on your own path. And once you find what you are really looking to do, something that you really, really love, pour your heart and soul into it. It'll make you feel really, really good that you're doing something really good for the world. So, yeah, to any person that's experiencing depression. I truly hope that you find the resources, and I say this on every podcast that I'm on. I'm just like, you are worthy of everything good. And that means, hey, today you may experience depression or suicidal thoughts, but you have the tools to you have there are multiple spaces for you to gain the tools for you to overcome, and to be where you want to be, right, where you truly want to be. So yeah, I just want to say you're valuable, your thought process, what you have to bring to the world. And so please, please, please get the help that you need.
Yes, please get the help you need. And if you are having suicidal thoughts, call the suicide hotline. Um, Call 911, let them know. But you are worthy, you are necessary, and God has you here for a reason. And I have this shirt on that says Heaven Made, because you are heavenly made, and God created you here for a purpose, and you're still here for a reason. So don't think that you just here just because. God has you here for a reason, and your testimony may be a saving grace to somebody else. And I know you probably get messages all the time about how your product or
Yeah.
what you do helps and save people. And I've definitely gotten DM and messages as well, and comments as well. So you are loved and you are cared for, even at times if it may feel like you're not, you are. So and you are not alone. So definitely, if you need coaching, assistance, you can find me at LaJuneSingleton.com. Natasha has her group as well for wellness and yoga. That's her area of expertise. And hey, we are here. And if it's not us, find somebody who can help you,
Right.
because help is out there. And it's not, you can never say, well, there's no help. There is so many resources and services. And you can also Google somebody in your area that works for you. So thank you, Natasha, so much for sharing your story and for being vulnerable and giving tips of what has worked for you. Um, it's not easy talking, and you can tell when you're in a hill place when you can have these conversations and it doesn't set you back. So once you get to this place, you will definitely know, because I was looking at our panel last week and I've watched it like 100 times and I laughed because we were laughing and we were enjoying ourselves and we had so much fun. But healing looks so beautiful on the other side. Just know that and believe that. So until next time, this is Mind, Health, and Wellness with LaJune. And you can find, people can reach you on her
Herplum.com. Yep. Herplum.com.
com, and you can find me at LaJuneSingleton.com, and we are on all social platforms. If you want to send us a comment, DM, make sure it's something positive and you ain't trying to hit us up for other reasons. Sorry. Until next time.
Bye, everybody.